So a few months ago, Nikon released the new Nikkor Z 24-70mm f2.8 and there's already many reviews on the internet talking about this lens. So in this video, I'm going to do something different because I'm a real professional photographer, not just a YouTuber making reviews on the internet. I cover about 160 corporate events and weddings in a year, and my landscapes have been published and printed commercially. I also teach photography workshops and lead people on photography walks if you're interested in that. This video will purely be from the perspective of someone who makes a living with camera equipment, and I'd like to answer these questions. How does the new lens perform for my needs as a professional photographer, specifically in events, weddings and landscapes? And also, how does it compare to the current lens I'm using for these genres, the 24-120mm f4Z lens? First, let's talk about events and wedding photography. Now, just a little background information. I have used the original 24-70 f2.8. I didn't like it, I sold it, and I got instead the 24-120, which was really good value for money and very sharp. And now I'm interested to know if the new Nikon 24-70 f2.8 is enough for me to sell off that lens and start using this as a professional events and weddings photographer. Now, the first thing I noticed when I started using this lens for event photography is that it is very much lighter than its predecessor. Now, this is something that is extremely important because I'm used to shooting up to 16 or even 17 hours a day, and it can cause massive strain on my back and knees. So having a lens that is so much lighter is a massive plus in my book. This lens is actually longer than the original version as well as the 24-120 f4, but it does not have a protruding front element when zoomed out. So my apologies in advance, but you guys are gonna have to look at my face for a while here because I want to show you guys something. If you are a professional photographer, you probably have a sling like this. Now this allows me to carry two camera bodies at the same time. So the danger with this and with the lens I'm currently using, the 24-120mm f4, is that when it's extended all the way, you can see that it protrudes quite far out. And when this thing is at the end of a sling, it kind of just swings around and sometimes it gets a bit dangerous. I tend to get really rough when I'm on a job and I will knock into things. And when it's extended out, it doesn't feel well balanced and it feels like I'm bumping dangerously close to the rim of the lens. Now with the new 24-72, you can see that no matter how I zoom out, nothing extends out. So it stays in the same size and the same length, and as I'm walking around, I feel like it's safer. I'm not that likely to bump into something because it's not extended out unexpectedly. One of the biggest upgrades in this version is the Silky Swift autofocus system. It's noticeably faster, smoother, and more decisive than the previous generation. For photography, it locks onto faces and moving subjects with almost zero hesitation, exactly what you need during fast moments at weddings or events. Overall, the Silky Swift autofocus makes the lens feel more responsive, more confident, and better suited for real-world professional work. Now let's take a look at some real-life examples of event photography using this lens. As you'd expect of a lens of this caliber, the new Z 24-70 f2.8 is a pleasure to shoot with. Autofocus, as mentioned, is lightning fast, its sharpness is on par with prime lenses, and it has an extremely pleasing blurring of out of focus areas. Coupled on the Nikon Z and the new autofocus system, it makes short work of even the most challenging situations. This lens is 50mm shorter than the reach on the 24-120, but I find that since I shoot with two cameras anyway, I can have the 135 planar on the other camera body if I wanted to get real close. When there's light sources behind your subject, you can see a little bit of cat's eye effect, but hardly any onion rings at all. When you're paid for your photography, you require your equipment to deliver the best results, and you need lenses which are so reliable that you can trust them with your work. Some moments happen only once in a lifetime. Now, before I move on to landscape and travel photography, I'd just like to mention that one of the upgrades to the lens is that there is now a click on-off switch for the function control ring. I can now make silent, precise exposure changes while staying locked onto the moment.
Hey everyone, we're in Japan right now. You can see that we're surrounded by beautiful autumn foliage. Look at the red, the maple trees behind it looks absolutely fantastic. And I have with me here the 2470 f2.8 II from Nikon. We're going to go around, we're going to see how it performs in this beautiful, beautiful landscape.
Not surprising for a lens of this caliber, images are breathtakingly sharp, and in this vibrant landscape, I'm blown away by the amazing color rendition. It's nothing short of spectacular. In regards to sunstars, this lens produces the same sharp pointed starburst effect as most Nikon Z lenses. This lens has Nikon's best coatings, so chromatic aberration is extremely well controlled, but in very challenging situations like this one, I can still see a tiny little bit of blue fringing among the leaves. Something else that landscape and travel photographers will be interested in is flare control. As you can see here, I'm shooting directly into the sun with this shot. Now this is a rather extreme case. As you can see here, I'm shooting directly into the setting sun, but I think the lens did a reasonably good job considering the circumstances. If street photography is your thing, you need a lens that can autofocus in dark and challenging conditions, and the lens performed wonderfully here. So now allow me to go back to the question I asked at the beginning of the video. The 2470mm f2.8 II performs extremely well for landscapes. It is sharp across the frame, has excellent contrast, and handles flare and backlight very confidently. If this were my only lens on a trip, I'd have no hesitation using it for serious landscape work. The rendering is absolutely beautiful, and when stopped down, it delivers the kind of detail you'd expect from a high-end professional zoom lens. That said, for landscapes specifically, I will still find myself reaching for the older 24-120 f4 more often. The reason is simple: reach. The extra 120mm gives me more compositional options, tighter framing, better compression, and the ability to isolate distant elements without changing lenses. In landscape photography, I'm usually shooting at f8 or f11, so the f2.8 advantage over the 2470 doesn't really come into play for my shooting style. So while the 2470 f2.8 II is optically superior in many ways, the versatility of the 24-120 f4 makes it my preferred choice when landscapes are the priority. Turning our attention back to events and weddings, the 2470mm f2.8 II is my preferred choice. It's fast, reliable, and performs confidently in mixed and low light conditions, which is exactly what you need in these environments. And the 2470 range covers most situations: wide room shots at 24mm, tighter portraits and candids at 70mm. And while reach is still a concern, it's not an issue as I usually shoot these events with two cameras, so I'll pair this lens with the 135 planar on the second body. The constant f2.8 gives me better low light performance and faster autofocus with extreme sharpness and no protruding front element while zooming, which is why this lens makes more sense for professional events and weddings. So in conclusion, if I'm shooting landscapes and travel photography, I'll be reaching for my 24-120 f4 f4 as my preferred lens, and if I'm doing events or weddings, the 24-70 f2.8 II is my choice to go. So whether you're a professional photographer or you're just wondering how a professional approaches the lens choices that we have here, I hope this video has been useful for you, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and remember to follow me for more content like this. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.